Okay, so today's lesson is 10-6, which is solve equations by factoring. So your instructions are to solve each equation by factoring. Show all work. Okay. So for number 1, x squared minus 16 equals 0. So this is the first time you've had something where it says equal to something, hence why it's a equation. So for step 1, you're going to simplify by factoring. So on the left side, what do we have? Difference of squares. So we're going to factor like it's difference of squares. So x plus 4, x minus 4. And that's still going to be equal to 0. Okay? So again, using the scales from 10-5, we factored and simplified difference of squares. Now, step 2, I'm going to set each binomial equal to 0 and solve for the variable. So set each binomial equal to 0 and solve for the variable. So I'm going to take x plus 4, set it equal to 0. I'm going to take x minus 4 and set it equal to 0. So I'm taking each part and setting it equal to 0 separately. Then I solve. Well, how do I solve? X plus 4 equals 0. How do I solve for x? So I would subtract the 4. So x equals negative 4. Over here, I would add the 4. So x equals 4. Step 3 is always that you can check your answers. So how do we check our answers? Well, we simply just substitute those values back into the equation. So to check, negative 4 squared minus 16, does it equal 0? Well, negative 4 squared, so negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. 16 minus 16 is 0. So that one works. Do the same thing with the positive 4. 4 squared, 4 times 4 is 16. 16 minus 16 is 0. So they both work. So solving this problem, our answer is 4 and negative 4, or negative 4 and 4. It doesn't matter how you read it. Let's try number 2. A squared minus 4 equals 0. So again, we want to simplify by factoring, and we have difference of squares. So we factor a plus 2, a minus 2. Remember, it does not matter which order you write it in. If you want to write minus 2 then plus 2, that's fine. Then we set both parts equal to 0. And we solve for the variable. So I subtract 2. So a equals negative 2. Add 2. A equals positive 2. Okay, and then we can check. Now you don't have to physically write down your checking method, but you could just mentally do it. Negative 2 squared, so negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. That works. 2 squared. 2 2 squared is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. So both those work out. Okay. Number 3. W squared minus 9. Okay. Difference of squares would say W plus 3, W minus 3. Set both equal to 0. Solve for your variable. And check. And both of these work out. So we get -3 and 3. Okay, let's try the next one. D squared plus 144 equals 0. Okay, well, in this problem, do we have difference of squares? No. Do we have a GCF? No. Grouping, trinomial, any of this. So can I simplify the left side? No. And since we're trying to simplify by factoring, this is as far as I would go, and I would just simply say this is prime because I cannot solve it using the method of factoring. Okay. Once you get into Algebra 2, we'll talk about other options for how this could be solved, but as of right now, if you cannot solve the left side or simplify it by factoring, then you would just write prime. Okay, number 5. 36b squared minus 121 equals 0. Okay, so difference of squares, yes. Remember, you just have to think about the number and the variable. So this, for 36b squared, we would have 6b, and for 121, we would have 11. So 6b plus 11, 6b minus 11. And again, if you're confused on the factoring, go back to 10(5). We set both of these equal to 0 and solve. Now, because we have a coefficient on our variable, it's going to be solved a little bit differently. I will still simplify like this, but now I have 6b equals -11. Well, that means then I have to divide by 6, so b equals -11/6. Let's try the other one. Add 11 to both sides. Divide by 6, and I get 11/6. Okay, now you can go ahead and check that in your calculator, but as long as you factored everything correctly, then those answers should work out just fine. Okay, so I'm going to have you try number 6 and 7. 16x squared minus 25 equals 0. And number 7, 9y squared minus 81 equals 0. So try 6 and 7, and I'll be back.